Hello and welcome to the Breaking Edge podcast 69. I'm Fred, your host from Breaking Edge, and I'm very happy to have another English speaking podcast for you. I have my friend and colleague Arne with me. Hi, Arne.
Hello.
And we have a returning guest on our podcast, Nassim. Hi, Nassim.
Hello, how are we?
Hi. These two fellas just basically today came back from the US, from the Adepticon in Chicago, and won both the singles and the team tournament. And I thought, let's do another podcast. Let's talk a bit about their experience going overseas for the tournament, about the meta in US. And maybe at the end also a bit of let's talk about the coming meta, but I also want to know a bit about their experience, the army list, their choices, their preparations, because as many maybe have noticed, Arne is going overseas. Nassim has been at the LVO, barely not making the top. Was it top 16 or top 8? At least going into the shadow rounds.
Yeah.
So you two are players who don't only play in their regional circuit and tournaments, but really go overboard. So I would even say maybe a certain and different generation of players, but we will come into this later. So first of all, Nassim, maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit to the listeners who don't know you. Where you from? What team do you play? And what's your favorite armies?
Yeah, sure, sounds good. So, my name is Nassim. Hello, I play on behalf of Team England and with the boys here on Hot Stakes. Some of the armies that I like, anything that has a good gun profile, usually does it. Usually ticks that box. I like to not identify as the armies that I play, but the weapon types that I have, and they are usually ranged weapons. So, that's a very quick brief about me. Play for Team England. And I've also got my own team, the War Masters. Going for the number one UK this year. And that's pretty much a brief overview about me. Honestly, you have any specific questions?
That's nice. I have a specific question because it actually came up on the stream for the Adepticon. How long have you been playing 40k for yet?
Oh, playing 40k. Okay, so I started 40k. I actually, this is funny, right? So when I was at Adepticon, I actually got a like memory on my Snapchat. I was like, 4 years ago today, you bought this book for like it was literally a guard book as well, which was goes to show I'm not meta chasing. And yeah, so
Always has
so
been a
I had
good main.
yeah, exactly. I've always been a guard main. It's over here. Like I don't know if you can actually see it, but I got that and I was like, wow, I've been playing this game for just over 4 years, like just straight new into the hobby, like just in general,
That's
just over
crazy.
4 years. Yeah, and I think I had like a solid year and a half, almost 2 years of just playing casually and just trying to build up like 2,000 points of something. And yeah, it's pretty much been since COVID really that competitive 40k kind of kicked off a little bit.
Nice. Follow-up question as well. How old are you, if I may ask?
I am a mere child, 22 years old. I know.
So, guys, this is this is stealing LVO, not LVO, Adepticon. LVO is still on the list. And Arne, why don't you introduce yourself a bit to the international listeners? Everyone in Germany who has listened to our
Yeah,
podcast should know you by now.
that's fair. Yeah, I'm Arne. I'm sorry for my voice right now. This is 13 rounds of 40k. Yeah, I'm playing for Team Germany and for Hottest Takes. And yeah, I've also really picked up competitive 40k during COVID and on TTS, and have now been just grinding tournaments since about a year or so now. Um, and yeah,
Martin pretty much got you into the analog tournaments, I felt.
yeah, he did. He dragged me along to some analog tournaments, and then just basically was like, "Yo, Arne, you need to sign up for this." I was like, "Okay, I will." And before I know it, I had like 2 tournaments a month. But yeah.
so you both basically started playing in TTS and doing COVID.
Yeah, I'd say pretty much because I remember Jaime. I don't know if you're talking about him on the podcast. Like I know both of you like know him. I don't know if your listeners do. Like Jaime kind of got me into it a little bit because he was like, "Oh, Nassim, look, we can practice, 40k whilst not having to play with each other in roll up." And I was thinking, "What the hell are you on about?" Just straight away, I was like, what are you smoking?" He said, "Oh, there's this thing, like TTS," and I looked at, it, I was like, okay, this. I looked at it, I was like, oh, this looks fine in theory. This is before Battlescribe to TTS or any of that stuff. This was just
Mhm.
raw dogging. This was just like
Oh yeah.
what it was.
No,
Yeah,
no fights, no auras immediately, and no
nothing,
good measuring.
nothing.
Yes.
It was like caveman 40k, but it was still advanced because you still had the measurements and stuff. And yeah, and like for me, this was like early. So it was during my first year of university in like early. I want to say like early Feb, so like 2019, 2020
It should
roughly.
be 2020, right? February
Yeah, I think,
2020 sounds correct. Because
yeah,
that's when I was grinding TTS as well.
yeah. No, but that's when I first got introduced to it, and I started grinding
Yeah.
it like a few months later down. I was like, okay, COVID's now hit. I can't do anything. Let's play for. I want to play 40k, but I can't. TTS it is.
Fair.
And I think Arne, you talked about this before that you started grinding the international, the what was called the Alpha League, like the TTS scene that was there before COVID, and you got in there, and this is how you got to know a lot of international players, right?
Yeah, that's how I got to know Jaime, Nassim, all the international players I know, really.
By the way,
It's
who
kind of
doesn't
like-
know Jaime? Jaime is the one end up he must be most known for his Space Wolves playing Space Wolves for Pro Tabletop, right? And he made also, was it second or third place in War Masters this year, last year
Yeah,
with Turniers?
he came second. But I actually still know Jaime as the Ultramarines guy. Which is,
True, true. He used to be
I
an
remember that.
Ultramarines guy before he switched to Space Wolves. And
In
then
and out, I
Turnies,
know,
yeah.
right? Metal Chaser.
And now he's
Amazing.
Team America.
Ah,
There we
cool.
go.
Arne, tell the viewers how old you are.
25.
Nice. Okay. See you guys. I remember when COVID came, it was and we were starting playing TTS. There was lots of talk about there are these players who also they only started 40k with TTS and they don't even know what was the saying like they don't even know how to walk around a table, so they can't be good in any in-person tournament because they can't check line of sight from behind or something. This is like some weird series going around and. Yeah, it's like I feel like this is such a great ending story, not ending story, but like if you see like just put these two pictures next to each other, because now you both guys went together to US. I think you also flew together, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
We met up at
We shared a
London.
bed together.
Ooh, nice. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a hotel room with 3 people in 2 beds.
That's amazing. And you guys, you just it's not. I feel like Adepticon has a very big reach and very knowledgeable. It's not the biggest US tournament. It's a super major with 200. I think it was 260 players, but it's a very big event with all the side events, lots of tournaments, and so on. And you guys managed to win it, or like Nassim won it, and Arne went second. And we will talk about a little bit more what you guys brought, what your armies were, and what your experience was at the tournament itself. Also, later we will talk about the team tournament. For now, maybe why did you guys decide to go there? Why did you travel overseas to play in a? It's basically, I mean, for Nassim, come on, there's like so many majors in UK happening right now. Why do you have to? You don't have to fly to US anymore.
No. So one, like, I got invited out, and for me, after LVO, I was kind of like, I was kind of like enamored, like I was kind of like captivated by how much space they have between the tables, and I was like, I really want to experience this again.
The shooting player wants to go to the US.
Yeah,
US tables. I see.
I was no, but in all seriousness, like I got invited out. I knew that 40k wasn't like the biggest thing. There was like it was like a convention, and I always
Mhm.
wanted to go to one. To be fair, I did think it was going to be predominantly 40k. It is not, by the way. Like 40k is like 1/10 of that hall. It's
Mhm.
insane. It's
It's a side
massive.
event.
Yeah, it's a side event, and then they have. One I found out there's actually another hotel with with a shuttle bus that takes you to somewhere else. It's completely different. It's like it's massive. Like
Mhm.
40k is like a tiny part of it, and I just wanted to take part in the convention, have a bit of fun. I initially went there for the team event, and I was like, all right, I'll do the singles as well. I remember I was discussing it with Anna and Nick, who actually got me out there. I was like, oh, you know what? I don't think I'll take guard because I can't get with the models, so I'll just play it on me for fun. And then Nick and Anna was like, no, 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 you can actually win it. Like we were talking about, it, and I was like, fine, I'll take the guard then. And
Shot
truth made
myself in the
manifest.
foot there, did I?
Yeah, you could have
You
played
were gonna
beside us
take
in the
like
final.
what were you gonna take? It was like
What did you want
Iron
to? What would you
Hands.
take?
Like a terrible Iron Hands list with just like all the vehicles just for fun. I'm not even joking. I was gonna take like 3 Redemptors, 2 Contemptors, like suppressors. I was gonna take a fun list. But I was like, oh, fine. I got semi-bullied into taking guard. I was like, fine, I'll take guard, and it did well.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
these
We were
typical
kind of
tournament
like,
players. The typical competitive players. Yeah, I have a fun idea. I'm just going to bring the super fun list, and in the end, the deadline comes close, and then no.
Oh god, it
we
is.
we did kind of bully him into that because I was looking at like the tables and we were looking at the competition that was there, and I was like, you know what? Honestly, like if Nassim brings guard, he's the scariest player at that event. So he should bring guard. you know, I think my prediction was right there.
Yeah, you were spot on. I was
Very
like,
good,
oh,
yeah.
this is really easy. What's going on here? US meta soft. Anyways,
Maybe you should give a shout out to Nick, who basically
well,
set you guys up, right?
100%. Nick, you're a
Oh yeah,
legend. I'm going there next year again. It was so fun. Even if I don't play any
yeah.
40k, the whole convention stuff is just so fun. Like I do recommend it for newer players and for anyone who just wants to experience the atmosphere. Like it is hands down the best event I've been to atmosphere wise. Like better than LVO. Terrain wise, not the best. But no, but honestly, outside of the terrain, that event was like that ticked all of my boxes. And like we have 10th edition. M- Maybe maybe melee armies are good. You only play melee armies, I doubt it. But yeah, there you go.
Well, what makes the atmosphere different there?
On how do you describe it? It's just like everyone's just like having a good time. Like because
Yeah.
it's like it's hard to describe it.
So I think it's like people there go like really crazy for the hobby, and you just see all that crazy effort that people put in. So obviously this is less at the singles, but like while the
Mhm.
singles are running and like while the singles top 16 was running and so on, there was like the doubles, there was like a bunch of other stuff. There was these like there were a bunch of cosplayers. There was like I took so many photos of just like absolutely mental display boards
It was
that
insane, by the way. Like I've never seen anything like
yeah,
it.
it's like
Wild.
someone went to the like detail that you would put into a diorama, but over the scale of like a 40k table, kinda, to make just a crazy table sized diorama with their army as a
Yeah,
display board. And it's just like,
it's
sure.
wild. Like
Like there
there's
was
also
that cathedral
yeah.
board.
Yeah.
You would deem the heretic though on and that's
Yeah,
why
they handed
that's
me a
why you
pin.
lost.
Sure.
Remember that's why you because they deemed you a heretic. But no, it was wild. Like I the way you need to think about Adepticon is that Adepticon is not a 40k event. It like even for me, I went there for 40k and I was just like, this is just like not a 40k event. This is just like as I mentioned earlier, like just a massive hobby convention. Like you
Mhm.
just meet so many people that are just having fun. Like and there's separate halls and rooms everywhere. I went into the AOS room. It was massive. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, because I thought, oh, like this is the only hall, whatever. Next room, like just as big. The other room, just as big. There's another hotel room, was like
Yeah.
another hotel room down the side, and then the shuttle bus that takes you to a completely different hotel. That's the same thing,
Yeah.
and that one is like twice as big, by the way. Nick said, so it's like, it's
Yeah, I've
wild.
never seen so many people just like, even like kind of more obscure older games like I enjoy BattleTech, but kind of no one plays it. And then you show up at
I noticed that
Adepticon and they're straight up like how many, like half the hall, like half the size of our 40k hall, like next to us there, was like a BattleTech thingy. And then yeah, it's like there's a bunch of that. There was I got to check out. Oh, I got to check out the
let's
booth for the
let's
Ravished
think about
Stars Armies of the Veil Touched
let's think
thing.
a bit on the 40k side. So I can imagine it must be very diverse there. Anna, what make you decide to go there? Because I bet it's not only the hobby thing.
Well, so the biggest thing was the team. Because like for me, I know a lot of like international players, and I talk a lot with international players on Discord, and just getting to meet the people that I talk to online is like was like a huge highlight for me. It was kind of like that a year ago when I went to the American Team Championship, and I was just like there in that room and just constantly running into people who are like, "Oh, hey, we've been talking on Discord. You know, I'm," and like kind of that, yeah. So I was also, um wanted to meet obviously like Nick and Austin and Nassim for the actual Hottest Takes team, but then just getting to meet kind of like all the American players that I know. So yeah, that was really dope. The community aspect is definitely like the biggest thing for me.
So you guys both decided to go there. There was the team tournament with Austin and Nick playing as the Hottest Takes. What was their expectations? Let's focus on the singles for now. Going into the event, what was the what did you expect from that?
Did you want me to start? Or did you want to start for the singles?
I can start. I had a pretty clear expectation of going 3-1 because I was bringing Votann. Votann is a solid army, but I was also confident that if I go second versus guard on an open table, and it was Adepticon, so that is on any table, if I go second versus guard, I should get knocked out of the running, and I was expecting a lot of guard. So I basically went like, I'm probably gonna like, I can maybe go like if I go first half the time, I will win the 2 games I go first, and then maybe one of the times I can pull it back around because it's like a weaker player. But if I go second versus like a really strong guard player, I shouldn't make it. And then I got a little lucky. I went second round 2 versus guard, and the guard player just didn't like execute accurately. And I got to actually have a game. And then
It was a good game as well. I was watching. I was like, "Wait, is this still going on? Arne's alive?
Yeah.
What's going on here?"
yeah. I shouldn't have been. I shouldn't have been alive,
I know.
but
I
I
was
was.
confused. I was like, hold up, what's this?
Yeah, he got one of the fortresses, and the second fortress just refused to die for the rest of the game. And
I
was
remember we were
just,
talking about your army before the event. I remember we talked about at Votann, but did we talk about something else? Did you plan to bring something else? I don't remember. I remember going back and forth.
yes. I was thinking about just. I was also initially thinking about just meming it, and just borrowing a Chaos Knights army.
Ah, yes. Just
Um,
13 nights and maybe go first.
To be fair,
basically,
on that terrain, hey, that's not it's not a bad
it
army.
wouldn't have been bad. It would have
It would,
just lost to the same stuff, right?
yeah, you might have lost to the guard a bit faster, but apart from that,
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
But I also wouldn't have won against the guard going first. Whereas with Votann, I was blowing people
Yeah,
up going first.
That's
So
fair.
it's a super major overseas. It's four rounds on Thursday.
Yes.
And then there's a top cut after that for the top 16, playing up to 4 more rounds. And and you say, okay, maybe go first and bring a shooting army.
Yeah, and I was planning to go 3-1 and have all of Friday to just check out the whole convention. Right? Because then I knew Saturday, Sunday would be dedicated to the team event, so I was thinking I just hang out everyone Friday and like just enjoy the convention. And then yeah, that didn't go through.
Well, to be fair, almost we had to go back to the
True.
yeah. That was funny. So basically, just for a bit of context there. So the way I guess Adepticon works is they have a top cut that's what's on your paint score, which by the way I beat on with. I beat
This
him
is,
up.
by the way, just I
Wait,
I
how
will
does this
post
work?
photos of your sentinels. I will post photos of your sentinels.
That's fine. Remember, those sentinels are better than your army.
The top 16
God
is
damn it.
determined by like battle points and the paint score.
No,
And
there's a minimum paint score required
yeah,
to be allowed into the top 16.
And how
so
does the paint score work? Someone judges you and gives you a point for highlights and
yeah,
shadowing.
to be
Exactly.
fair, it's exactly that. And so there's actually like set points where you get on, but it's all subjective, like on like the judges. But like to be fair, you get judged multiple times. Like
Mhm.
you'll have more than one judge come around, or for what I saw. Um, and yeah, so there was actually somebody who went for no who didn't make top 16 because his models were atrocious, and they were just like no. And there was somebody who was free, basically, well, 3 and 1 draw, same as you and Ben, and didn't make it because their models were atrocious, essentially.
Mhm.
And well, I'm not saying atrocious because I've seen them. I'm saying atrocious because apparently somebody else has seen them and said that. And yeah, and on and somebody else, Ben Sherwin, who played round 4, technically weren't in the first variation of the top 16 for some
Yeah.
reason.
So
And
we
then
drew the fourth round. It was an 87-87 game because we were playing on mission 33. So we just both maxed primary. And then we both ended up with the same secondary score. So we just
Yeah,
like drew
you
that
basically
game.
went 3-0-1, right?
Correct. I went 3-0-1 on the first day. And then we were very confused because some people who went 3-1, so like 3 wins and a loss, and I think 3 separate people who went 3 wins and a loss qualified for top 16, but neither of us did. And we were like,
pain score, buddy.
that's very strange. And both of our armies were like, like, I'm not the best painter, but like, my army's like painted,
You have some airbrush
Like,
stuff on it. You put the
sure, but
washes
like,
and stuff. You have a basing.
exactly. It's all I ticked the boxes. I even borrowed a display board from Nick to, get those extra points for having a display board. And like, I was pretty confident that it wasn't the paint score that kicked me out. Or if it was, I at least wanted to know, like, yo, did I actually get kicked out because my army isn't like stream appropriate or whatever? And apparently, their BCP export just like didn't work with draws or something. And we just like, we just that's why we did make that first version of the top cut. So we went to the judges and like asked, "Yo, how'd that happen? Is that like our army's that bad or whatever?" And they went and checked for us and was like, "Okay," like after like 10 minutes came back and was like, "Well, we're working on it. We're trying to figure it out, but it's not the paint score. We checked your paint scores. You're both like good enough to play. So there must be something else." And then we waited like, I don't know, it was like honestly maybe half an hour or something of just
Yeah, it was like 20 minutes, 20,
yeah,
30
just
minutes.
chilling
'Cause
there next to the judge table.
I
It
was
were like
laughing.
it was kind of a group, honestly,
Yeah, Fred,
of
it was
just
great.
people that were like
I was laughing. It was
it was
absolutely
really
great.
funny.
Because I was just like, you're not gonna make it because of your paint score. I was just laughing.
Yeah.
Even though they said it's not your paint score, I still would have just teased you for your paint score.
Yeah, but like So then, like, after all that time, they come back and it's like, okay, yeah, the BCP export didn't like work properly, and you're both in. So then, yeah, then suddenly I was in the top 16, and I had to play the second day.
Nassim, what about you? You bought a guard. You got convinced by your teammates to bring guard to this event. What was your
Bullied.
expectation for this tournament?
I got bullied.
Bullied, yeah.
So honestly, my expectation, because I came like, if I hadn't come in with guard, it would have been quite similar to Arne, like quite like 3-1, maybe make top cut, maybe not, whatever. I wouldn't have been mad with a 3-1. Of course, I would have wanted to do better, but I know like 3-1 with non-guard would have not been bad. But my aim now that I had taken guard was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna top cut at least, and I'm gonna go from there and try and win it all. Was the mentality I had, and I was telling Arne, I was like, I'm gonna go for it. Like, and I think Arne knows, and I think that everyone else I was speaking to knew that my biggest worry was my paint score rather than my actual score. I was genuinely worried. I was like, Arne, I'm probably not gonna make it. I was like, I was so worried to the point where when I finished my fourth game in like 20 minutes, I went to the judges and I said, "Hey, can I just know if I make top cut, just so I have the rest of my evening and tomorrow?" And they were like, "Okay, we'll tell you if you make top 16, but we won't tell you your score." And I was like, "All right, that's all I'll ask." And I was like, "Can you make top 16?" And I was like, "Yes."
Nice.
Because I was really, I don't really understand, because despite of my score, because I had really high scores, I think I was second after Ogden, which was 100, 100, 100. I had dropped 9 points because I was 97, 100, 97, 97.
Mhm.
Can't score more because of RBD, very sad. And basically, I was like, I don't know if I genuinely didn't know if I made top cut. I don't think I understand how atrocious Baleontis was. I tried to repaint him to make him look nice, and it made it worse. It was shit. I don't think you get it.
Like
It's
a lot
that
of
bad.
the I think you should have just maybe spent the time to like rim your bases instead of just leaving them whatever they were. But
Oh yeah, but that
yeah,
doesn't matter
maybe.
here. That doesn't matter anywhere apart from there. That's what's wild. It
Sure,
doesn't matter.
sure.
Nassim, I'm not sure if
Easy hobby
if
tip,
you need
though.
like a painting coach or like a painter.
I need a painter. I need someone to paint for me. You cut me
Well,
off.
you got that. You got that.
I technically did.
You got
Oh,
that
Rogodorn.
Rogodorn is like the prettiest piece of plastic ever. It's crazy.
It is, and I did
Did
not
it make
pay.
it home well?
Yeah, it did. It did. Thank
Very
God.
good.
I'm using it at my next event. I don't care. I genuinely don't care. I'm using it at my next event. Even though I know it's gonna get wrecked. I want it. I want to use one.
It'll get desolated.
Yeah.
I want to make this make sure that I understand this and also our listeners. So you both go to this event. Nassim, you, I think you went. Didn't you went 5-0 before this event in the last super major
Yeah.
in UK?
Yes, I
Right?
found him. Yeah, I didn't make the top cut there, but like,
Didn't make the
I,
pot cup. That's the one that
I
David
don't-
won
yeah.
with God. Like very similar list to yours. And I mean, at least at this point of the meta, you're bringing the best army you can have. Would you agree on that?
No, it's only 50% win rate. I'm actually bringing him with the weaker armies. Thank you very much.
It's only 50. Yeah, this win rate is okay.
There's a
How
story
dare
there
you?
somewhere. There's a story there somewhere about guard players and like I don't know something.
Okay,
Yes.
this
No.
might
No.
be a pretty good army, pretty good on especially open tables. And you're both saying, "Oh yeah, maybe I just go 3-1." I'm not sure if this is like this is I don't know, like lowering your expectation, or you actually like as Arne, you said it in your stream game, like you're super zen because there are things you can't control, and this is like not going first against the other guard armies.
Yeah. So my reason for going 3-1 was honestly not because I was going to get outplayed by someone, but because I was going to lose the roll off on a map with no terrain. That was why he was like, I'm going to lose one of these roll offs against a bad matchup. And luckily, against the two guard players that I played, I went first. And against one of them, we rolled off like 4 times. I was like, I'm not losing
Holy
this.
shit, this is intense.
I was
And I mean,
clinching.
there was another roll off that you absolutely had to win. You know, maybe round 8.
Yeah, I did. And
Yeah,
luckily,
maybe.
but skill issue. I won.
Okay, but
Abs-
before we go, let's go a little bit into also your games, the ones you had.
Yeah.
But before that, maybe your lists in a very rough sketch, starting with you and Nassim. What is the list you bring to the open tables? But actually, you brought the same to the UK event, right? I think it's like 1-to-1 the same.
It's almost the same. I essentially all I do in that list is I drop what's her name? Creed down to a Deathcore Marshal. And I use those extra points to take plasmas on every single one of my Lehman Russes instead of flamers because I need more guns. And I also take 300 killer missiles, and that's all on my Scout Sentinels, and that's all that changes in the list.
Yeah, I can give a short rundown for our listeners. It will also be linked in the video or podcast description. It's Born Soldiers, Death Corps Marshal, as you just said, Cadian Command Group as a bodyguard, and the bullshit bunny, bullshit banner as we know it, Lord Leontos, tank commander, with the gatekeeper and with ignore cover, 3 units of Cadian shock troops, 2 units of Kazakin, 1 with mechanized infantry, 1 with veteran guerrillas, also ignore cover, and the key. Actually 9 sentinels, 3 of them are scout sentinels with Hunter Seeker missile and chainsaws and plasma, and 6 with chainsaws and plasma. Then 9 mortars and 2 Lehman Russ battle tanks. As you said, plasma on top, plasma on the sides, flamer in front, and a single chimera with double flamers. Is that? I mean, this. I would say this is the archetype, probably, right? Is there anything controversial in here?
There's not, apparently, according to people, there's not enough Lehman Russes. I don't know. There's too many Sentinels, is what some people have told me.
Yeah, the Sentinels are going, like, some people really love them. Actually, we have a major coming up in Germany where someone's bringing 18 Sentinels. So you could bring more Sentinels. But the first list that came up is actually with more Lehman Russ, right? But you didn't think for the open tables you need more Lehman Russ, you need more T8. You'd like to bring the Sentinels.
The thing there is that, and I've actually discussed with Arne, is that Sentinels are better in the mirror. One, because there's always a dense piece of terrain that you can have.
Yeah.
So if you generally can't hide with the guard player, and I actually did this in one of the games, I couldn't hide 2 of my Lehman Russes and 3 of my Sentinels like at all, like whatsoever. They were just in the open, like butt naked. I was like, cool, I'm gonna piss them all in this forest. It's like, so if I do go second, I'm -1 a hit, and my Sentinels are really annoying to kill because I can pop 1 CP4 and an additional -1 a hit because they have smoke launchers. So Lehman Russes hit them on 5s now all of a sudden, which is not great. I can -1 damage if need to, which I could if I went second. I can just pop the defensive buffs, which again is really good because it takes people off guard. So his Lehman Russes now hit me on 5s. I don't get a save because the plasmas, but it's -1 damage, so it takes 4 wounds going through to kill a single sentinel. And if you actually map it out, each Lehman Russ is like 7 shots really average, so they're gonna get like 2-3 hits. One of those is gonna be an auto wound, and then they're gonna get an extra wound. So it's gonna take like 2 to 2.5 Lehman Russes to kill a single sentinel, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, they're just really damn sturdy.
And they're 150 points. They're about like
they're cheaper than
0.8 Lehman Russ or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And in return, because they can take orders, you can give them take aim. So they're hitting on freeze, reloading 1s because they're cool. The reloading 1s to hit and wound, which is key. They're AP4, and in response, the Lehman Russes cannot -1 to hit. They cannot -1 damage. And I actually had 3 armored sentinels in that matchup. Just be like, cool, 8 shots, real hits and wounds. His I think it was 10 damage. I was like, cool, his 10 damage on your Lehman Russ.
Nice.
What now? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Was there dense terrain? I saw on the streaming table I didn't see any forest.
That one did not have any forest. The other ones did.
Yeah, the streaming tables didn't, but even like the worst table, the Necron table, had like 2 forests.
Just a stream
Like-
table.
Maybe that's what the weird statues were for.
No, they would have to give me +1 leadership. There we go.
It's just inspiring.
Inspiring.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what they are. Yeah.
Maybe we go on from the list about a bit about your games, Nassim, and then we come back to Arne's list and his games. So Nassim, you didn't have any problems coming into the top card because you won all your first 4 games. You said you just went first against the other guard players and
So
won that.
round 1, it's actually quite beautiful, and the way it's shaped up. Round 1, I played these Ultramarines on an open board. I tried to make it dense. I go second. He almost kills a Lehman Russ, and I was like, oof.
He almost
Then-
kills one Leon Russ.
yeah, almost kills one Lehman Russ, my tank commander. I was actually a bit scared. I was like, oh, I wanted to shoot him. So
Emotionally connected to your tank commander.
Yeah.
I can tell.
yeah. So then after, so he shot me with some damage, and I was like, I took that. My Cassicans were like, we're gonna take that personally. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna do. So I was like, all right, cool. Reroll hits and moves on these Cassican, and I split them in like 4 or 5 ways. I was just like, I just want to kill you, because I'm like, cool, I'm gonna give them extra AP as well. So the AP free, so roll 6 ups. So I do that, and I kill with them. I think it was 6 actual intercessors. I kill an apothecary. I kill Tigerius. I kill a lancer. I kill.
Wait, you got a whole Lancer?
I got a lancer. I just shot 3 dudes there, and I was like, cool. Boop. Here's 6 mortal wounds and
Right.
7 saves.
3 dudes, yeah, that'll be 10 damage.
No, it was dead. It was all the damage. It was just dead. I was just
Go
like,
away.
cool.
Yeah, they do that sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like 6 mortal wounds, 7 6, and then I was like, cool. Here's 7 6 ups. Yeah, he just didn't make any. I was like, cool, you're dead. Then and he was like, oh, I'm gonna, I'm gonna, I forgot what it was called, pop transhuman, and I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm strength 5. I know, so I'm not strength 5. I'm strength 3. You know, 5s. I was like, cool, bud. And then he's like, I'll get a feel no pain. I was like, no, you don't, because I'm next to Finio. He's like, you might just want to hit. No, I'm not. I'm next to Finio. So it was great. Yeah, because on top of that, because I managed to kill 6 of those intercessors, Tiggy, like I killed Tigerius and the Apothecary and that Lancer with just those 10 idiots. It was great.
All right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was
So
like,
how many turns did you play?
we actually played the full 5 turns because he wanted to play the full 5 turns, and I was like, all right, cool, that's fine. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to go 97 because I took RBD, and you don't have any models. I was like,
Fair.
well, yeah. And then round 2, I play these. My closest. Arguably points wise, my closest game of the weekend against Demons. He goes first. He puts the pressure on, and I'm like, And now see why people like Demons because it just goes so goddamn well.
Yes.
I was just like, it's like, okay, I need to actually pay attention here because I might lose if I'm not careful. Because he's just scoring, even though he's not killing me, he's not getting any damage. He's scoring really, really good. And I was like, cool, turn 1, let's just focus on removing all of the screens. Because even though he went first, like I managed to kill 5 of the fiends, 10 doggos, 4 flamers, and I think was that it. Yeah, and I brought one of his heralds down to 1 wound. So that was my turn 1. Then for his turn 2, oh yeah, and for context, he went first. His turn 1, he killed 10 guardsmen that I used to screen, so that he couldn't teleport Big Bird and mortal wound Leontus because that make me sad. And then yeah, so turn 2 he comes in with the Bloodthirster and thing. He charges and kills my Chimera, does mortal wounds and kills a. I think it was a single Sentinel. Kills the Caskins the mechanized Caskin that I used to shoot from behind the wall. And then yeah, and then in response to that, I killed that Bloodthirster. I
With
Lee.
everything which is in range to the finial, so ignore his wound cap.
Yeah. So what I did was I shot him with Lumen Russes first, and I was like, cool, the rest of my army go. What was funny is that I shot him with the sniper, and the sniper did 5 damage against him because he failed the save. So I was like, cool, that's 5 damage. I was like, what? I was like, yeah. So I caught of his wounds just gone to that one sniper. He's like, okay. He was like, oh, can I see that? I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I've never seen 3 damage sniper before. Well, here you go, bud. I was like, he mortal wound from the strat, mortal wound from the sniper, and then 3 damage. It's 5 damage. He's like, yeah, that checks out. Yep. So I kill
Yeah,
him.
it's very often that, especially with the Kazakin, but also with the Sentinels, people start questioning you, and you have to show them the rules, and then they're like, "Oof, okay, yeah, oof,
Yeah.
okay."
Yeah, and that's generally what it was like. Oof, what the hell? Because the
Yeah,
Sentinels
it's
were
like,
really,
what,
yeah.
T6 7 wounds for 50 points. That seems reasonable.
It's actually 45 if you're Scout Sentinels. Get
True.
wrecked. No, it's 40 points if you're Scout Sentinels. 45 if you're armored. I just
Yeah,
paid
but 50 because of the blade.
Yeah, but people don't take the blades, which is weird.
Yeah, but you do.
I know I
Anyways,
do because it's
Go
good.
on.
And yeah, so did that, and his fins were just melting because it was just like cool. Because he gave them full pin, and I was just like cool. Sentinels go. I was just the most efficient thing against him. I was like cool. 3-0-1s, 2-0-1s. Here's 5 saves. You failed 3. Cool. That's a fiend and a half dead. I'm like cool. Next one. Boom, boom. Yeah. So I just killed that. So I killed those 5 fiends. I killed the Bloodthirster. I killed like 10 demonettes. I killed. No, I left and then I left the big bed on a few wounds. And I was like, all right, cool. And at this point, I still hadn't teleported my guys. By the way, they were just chilling in my DZs, just shooting the Caskins with just 4 rerolls because it's 24 inches. And then he hits me back. He kills the Chimera. Is it the kill Chimera? No, he killed some. No, he failed a charge. No, so his fiends failed a 6-inch charge from Deep Strike and he didn't have a CP, so they just chilled there. Big
Oh
Bird.
no.
How did
Yeah.
he 6-inch deep strike you if you have Sentinels and everything and play
I-
guard?
I didn't have the order at that flank because like I was just like I'm not in range of it. Like I can't give it within 24 of my infantry, unfortunately. That's not only regimental, and I couldn't splash string it out and then give the actual splash. So because what I usually like to do, which is what I did these Nick rolls a bit down the line, I was skipping, is that what I do is I give a Perfectus Orders to like my Sentinels because they string out across my entire army, and then
Mhm.
let that hit my infantry, and then I give those Sentinels so that my infantry does not benefit from 12-inch deep strike. Then I give the Sentinels another order because
Yeah.
the order that they actually want the +1 to hit. I'm like cool, I'll do that because you can give a unit multiple orders. Is just the most recent one actually takes effect. The other one just goes away.
Which,
But
by the way, I think is really like a really
it's
stupid rule
yeah,
because it
it is
makes
really
it
stupid.
everything like a lot more complicated. I also had people like guard player themselves like realize, oh, this actually works, and then yes,
It's really
so
good.
it's even harder to keep track of who's giving orders to what, and
Yeah.
you like denying all the restrictions you would have with these orders.
Yeah, the only it's because I noticed it's like it's quite hard to restrict the orders. Like the only restriction is that essentially the same commander can't give that the same order twice. But it don't matter because it splashes, so it's basically giving it more than
Yeah.
once. I was like, oh, like cool. Deathcore Commander Man, give those mortars +1 to hit. Can I give it to 1? It's all right. They'll tell their friends, the Gossip Girls, and that happened. In the end, the game was 97-75, and I was like, God damn, he scored a lot of points. I was scared. And then I go to game 3, Vs. The guy who played Vs Austin, by the way, Arne. And I was like, okay, I need to avenge Austin here. And this is the one where we had like 4 roll-offs to see who goes first. And then ended up going first.
What was his army?
Guard as well. It was
Oh,
like
okay.
it was like 6 Lehman Russes. it was
Austin
6
was also on guard, and this guy went first versus Austin.
and
Shot him
just
off the board.
So he just came
And,
from a guard mirror, which he
yeah.
won.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I'm thinking, crap. Is this guy going to be the guard hunter this event? Because there's always one guard player that hunts with the other guard players. It just happened to be me this event. And I went first, and turn 1, I'm like, cool, Sentinels moving move, shoot, move, charge, and I did that, and I tagged one Neiman Russ and killed some of the guard squad through that. So that was one of 6 Russes left. I did a Caskin shot and split everywhere, and I killed essentially what was the equivalent of 2 Demon Russes, and most of my Chimera. And then they make their charge and they tag that Russ that was wounded. So that's 2 Russes tagged down. And then in my shooting, I killed the 3 other Russes with like my Sentinels and my Sentinels and my Russes. Because what I do is I'm like, cool, I'm going to do Tank Commander, shoot here, kill you. I do these Sentinels +1 to hit, extra AP, shoot there, do like 8 damage, then finish you off with an Executioner, done. And yeah, it was just really rough for him. So after turn 1, he had 1 Neiman Rush left to shoot me. Like, he had a fresh Neiman Rush, but 1 Neiman Rush left to shoot me. And then, but to be fair, he put Caskins and 3 Scout Sentinels in reserves. And then when he brought them back down, he did kill like 2 of my Neiman Rushes. He killed 2 of my. Did he kill 2 or 3? I can't remember. I think he killed. He killed 2 of my Neiman Rushes and he tagged the other. And I was like, oh wow, that crackback actually kind of hurt. And then I tabled him the next turn.
Yeah, it's kind of that too little too late thing, right? Where you
Yeah.
you kill
It was
1,000 points of his army, his crackback actually does kill like 600 of yours, but then your next one is just like, okay, you have 2 characters left and nothing.
Yeah, and then there's like a company command squad, the Cadian command squad standing around. You can kill him, but he can't also do nothing to you.
I charged that squad into his back foot objective turn 2. Like turn 1, I was like move with Leontus. I gave them and they were like, cool. We're just behind the middle. Turn 2, move. Or was it? It was either turn 2 or turn 3 that I charged into his back foot because I'm like, I want those points. And yeah, he didn't score a single point of primary that game. He scored 11 on inflexible.
Wait, which round was it? That was round 3, right?
Yeah,
31. Okay. Yeah.
So
that's why he didn't get primary.
Yeah, he scored 11 on inflexible, and he scored 7 on boots. Yeah, 7 on boots, and then that's that. Oh no, 7 on bring it down, not boots. He didn't take boots.
I see.
It sounds a bit like he. I mean, he lost a lot. He got tagged, and he tried to prevent damage by putting stuff in reserve. Somehow he succeeded in getting some better strike, but also
he was just getting like, the thing is, like, even if that crackback somehow miraculously killed that flank, I was still gonna score 100 points because I was like, cool, I'm on all the objectives now though. Like, you can slowly take this back. I still have these 3 Sentinels with Leontus and the banner, and that's all I need in a late game. Like, those guys, like, even when I played these Alex Petford at Southampton, those guys were just like, cool. They picked up like 7. No, so they picked up like 6 Terminators because I was like, oh, they have 9 shots, killed like 4, then charged, killed 2, then he charged me, and I killed 1, and I was like, cool. I was like, great. And just real hits and wounds is real good, and you ignore all of their funeral pains and minus damage. You're just like, just die. And yeah, so that was that. And then my next guard game was against guard, and this was triple Rogodon, and I was telling Arne, I was like, I've just lost. I played because I saw the terrain. It was like the same one, and I was just like, I've just lost. Great, I've come all the way across the pond just to get shafted by triple Rogodon, which I've been shit talking for God knows how long. I was
this
like,
guy came prepared for the mirror, then.
Yeah, he did, but luckily he went second. So so turn 1, and the guy was saying, oh, I was. He also we deployed a. So what you do over here, also, Fred, is that we deployed our deployment sides, and I just outplayed him. I outplayed him completely on like terrain, like deployment, and then he wins that roll off and he takes my side of the board, and I'm just like, great, I'm left with this shit, and he has my really good, well defended side, and I was like, oh my god, I'm just like,
yes, it's different than LVO, right? LVO, you do roll offs and then you just put your stuff down, your terrain down on your side.
Yeah,
but
over here.
Adepticon, you do it differently.
Yeah.
You do it together, but you
Yeah.
still only can deploy in one table.
So
One table half.
Yeah.
let me just summarize real quick, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The terrain rules were as follows: you pick sides at the beginning. It's completely arbitrary, right? Because there's nothing on the table yet. And then whoever wins the roll-off gets to put the first piece of terrain. And every piece of terrain you place has to be at least 51% in your half of the table.
Mm-hmm.
So you can stuff something on the middle of the table as long as it's like a little more in your side than the opponent's side. Which gets really weird when you have like these endlessly long rock walls,
Goddamn straight.
which you just like turn like the long way around and ram in your opponent's deployment zone to make it useless. Because it goes halfway into theirs and halfway into yours.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. Like, and then so 51% in your half of the table, and then once all the terrain is deployed, then you do the roll off for attacker defender and pick a side.
So
So
terrified.
you have just been setting up one side of the table, and then you do a roll off, and
But what do you do
potentially
then?
switch
Like,
sides.
what's the strategy? Like, what's the strategy there? Can you just try to make it as open as possible if you're shooty, but both are shooty? What do you do
Yes.
then?
So
if
when I
both
was
were
the
shooty, you try
shooty
to
versus
hide.
melee, when I was the shooty versus melee, I would just go like, oh, I'll just make my side of the table completely fucking useless, and hope I win the roll off
Oh God.
to make you take the useless side of the table.
I mean, on the plus side,
But-
gives you more game deciding roll offs, so that like you cannot
You can
go
play dice
first.
better.
Yeah, you cannot go first with the melee army against the shooty army, but you have another roll off where you can at least have like the most optional table for you. I mean, but still, it's only on this very few terrain pieces which have all
Yeah.
windows, right?
Fred,
Yeah,
Fred,
exactly.
that ruling was dumb, and I'll tell you why it's dumb. Because going forward, every single player just basically agreed with one another. We're not swapping sides because it's just
Yeah.
no. We're just like we're not swapping sides. We
Oh,
just disagree to it.
That was like a gentleman's agreement with the
Yes.
players.
Yeah. We were just
I
like,
had
this
one
is
opponent who did the side switch against me. That was round 2.
Okay.
The opponent after that I played against, I was like, so are we doing the silly thing where we deploy on one side and then see which side we actually get, or are we just deploying on our side and staying there? And every opponent was like, nah, we're not doing that dumb shit.
Ah,
We're just
okay.
staying where we're at.
It was yeah. But he took my side and he had triple Rogodon and a gatekeeper and triple Kaskin and 3 units of 1 Scout Sentinels. So I just let him have the board there. But the fool, what he did not expect was my rolling. So I go first and leaves me a gap to shoot like basically like 4 guys into a Rogodon, which is more than what you should shoot. You should only shoot like 3 to 4 guys into a Rogodon. So what I do is I split into a Rogodon squad into another. And I basically split just like, is it 2 ways? Rogodon squad? No, I split. I'm trying to remember. So I definitely split into the Rogodon. I'm trying to think what else I shot.
With your Kazakin? Or with
Yeah, with the Kaskin.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the Kaskin.
Are we saying the American
Yes.
failed at screening?
Yes. Yeah. This is. Yes, he did.
It's the other
He
meme.
did. He this is forever me going forward. I don't care. But so no, I just went to both of them. I was like half and half. I was like, I don't want to play around here. And I was like 3 CP, spend for the extra AP. And what I do here is I'm just like, half of the squad does 16 damage to Rogodon. The other half, the other half does 12 damage to Rogodon.
How do you
Yeah.
even roll that? This
So
You just
you don't.
hit.
so they both
This is more than you have shots, and I mean you need to, and you only wound on 6s.
Well, 5-ups to hit.
Around
Yeah,
5-ups to hit.
Yeah, you just roll 5-ups to hits like a
Yeah.
madman.
So I kind of just did. So one of them just took 7 mortal wounds just right off the bat because of the sniper,
Yeah.
and then he failed the sniper save.
That's 10
So
damage.
that's 10 damage, and that's the guy who took the 17 because I also made him roll like 9. I think it was like because remember like I shot half the squad, and my squad has got like 27 shot. Well, 26 plus one for the sniper.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I was like, all right, cool. That one's down to one because I spent extra AP, so he was on 4 ups, and he just failed his 4 ups, and when he was down to one, the other one was down to 5. I was like, this is a very good start. I was like, I'm happy about this. I was like, this is great. And then what I do is I shoot a tank commander into the one that was on 5 and kill it. Doesn't explode. He shoots me on death. He's like, I'm gonna shoot this Lehman Russ here. I'm like, cool, that's fine. Doesn't come out Lehman Russ, but I fail 2 saves, so it puts me down to 5. I was like, oof. Then I shoot that Lehman Russ that was wounded into his 1-on-1 wound. Kill it. Doesn't explode. Unfortunately, I was really hoping one of those. So I killed those 2 Lehman Russes, and at this point, I was also shooting my close weapons into the Scout Sentinels, and I had killed 2 Scout Sentinels by this point as well, with my Scout Sentinels and my Armored Sentinels. And I also moved my Scout Sentinels to go around and to charge his Kaskin on one flank that was next to Rogue Dawn. So more on that later. And after that, I was like, cool, this tank commander, well, sorry, not this tank commander, this Lehman Russ execution is going to fire everything into this, what's it called? Chimera. And I shoot it, and I do that. And then I shoot the 10 Kaskins inside with, pardon me, with essentially what was 3 armored sentinels and
Probably
it
like mortars.
no.
No.
I had the shotting mortars. Yeah, it was like 3. Oh no. So it was just the sentinels because I think three died coming out, and then sentinels killed like another 6 because I got max blast. I was like, cool, 301s, 201s to kill. I was like, nice, and then cool, and then so at this point he had lost a Chimera, a squad of Kaskin, 2 Rogudons. He was about to have a Rogudon tagged, have another squad of Kaskin get tagged and charged by some Sentinels, and when I went to declare my mortars into his back Kaskins that were not touching cover, because if we touched cover we died. And he just conceded there, and then he was like, let's call it, because I was about to pick those guys up as well. And yeah, so my turn when I had
You didn't make it all the way through your first shooting phase.
no, he just
Fair. Okay.
Yeah. Because I was about to, because I was like, I don't care about your mortars if I just kill all your damage, and I had essentially killed 20 Kaskins. Well, I
Tag the rest.
I tagged the Rogodorn and
You killed 2 Rogodorn, right?
yeah, no, I had
Yeah,
killed
yes.
2. Yeah, I killed 2 Rogodorns, and I had tagged the other Rogodorn and that Kaskin squad. And
I mean, this is the thing what I always think when people say, "Oh, but it has toughness 9." I'm like, yeah, but what if my opponent just rolls good?
then get screwed.
It's so swingy.
Yeah, it's
I mean, that's
rough.
what happens to my fortresses when the opponent has Kassakin. It's like, yes, I'm really tanky, except when Kassakin are on the table.
Yeah,
Mm.
everything.
And they just do absolutely awful things to every vehicle.
They just do awful things to everyone. Oh, you are a demon. Guess what? I don't care. Here's 6 mortal wounds. It's at least 6 mortal wounds to you. And it was just wild. It was like it should not have been a thing, but it is, and I'm happy for it because I hopefully take it to one more event before it's nerfed. So I've done that. Then top cut. Then in my first top cut game, I play these. Oh, sorry,
Hold
do you
on.
wanna? Yeah,
Let's
hold
go
on.
over
Oh,
to
oh.
Arne. So Arne,
Alright.
even no wait, what was your going first record now, Nassim? It was going first against the last one.
So it was so the first 2 games I went second. The next 2 games against God I went first. 50% there.
Yeah, definitely the better guard player. Okay, yes.
Yeah, the 50% I needed.
So Arne, the list you took was the
Votann. Yep.
like with I don't know, like a fifth.
I can give it a quick.
5% of the bottle count that Nassim's list had, maybe even less. And
Joe counted it on stream. I believe he said I had 33 models and I have 11 units.
Then go ahead, give a quick rundown.
It's Uthar, it's a tech marine, it's 2 fortresses, 2x5 Terminators, a squad of berserkers with a mole launcher, 1 squad of the Gravkin. I'm missing 3 units.
Bikes.
3 times bikes. There you go. That's the 3 units I was missing.
I think they're quite important.
Yes. And that is the list right there. It's all in Great Arthurian League. And like Great Arthurian League is a choice, I know. I'm not even sure if it's correct for like stupid open tables like this, because the invuln would have helped with Ymir. What I really like about Great Arthurian League is that it's just better in the tactical games, where you don't just blow each other up. And Votann are already
What?
pretty good in the just blow each other up games. So, so Great Arthurian League makes my fortresses count as 5 models for the purposes of holding objectives. Makes everyone else count as 2 models for the purpose of holding objectives. Which means like my bikes, like a squad of 3 bikes, is 6 OPSEC models and stuff like that. It also means like if I have like the fortress and a tech marine touching a marker, that's like 7 models on the marker. That's actually like if you're not putting OPSEC on there, you're not stealing that marker. Which means my opponent has to deplete their OPSEC in order to stop me from scoring 12s on primary, because I will just ram a fortress down the middle.
And did all this technical stuff come up in your first 4 games?
It came up in, let me think. Well, I mean, let's go quickly. So my first game was versus Dark Angels, a super kind guy who I'd already played at ATC back then with Harlequins, but it was like
cool.
Dark Angels with like 9 tornado speeders, and then I went first, and I moved, and I shot his tornado speeders, and that ended the game. He played the full 5 turns, but he had no more units to do damage with. He had like 10 Terminators. Going first into the tornado speeders on no terrain was pretty good.
So there's terrain, but you can't hide 9 tornadoes in this terrain, which is basically 9.
There is terrain, but you can't hide
bases.
10 infantry modals.
Whew. Okay, let's go to the second game.
Yes. The second game was versus Astra Militarum. This was one of my hardest games of the whole event. I went second versus Astra Militarum. And this was a story. So we roll up to the table, and it's the fucking Necron table. I don't know if anyone saw the photos of Adepticon, but the Necron table is a table that does not have a single breachable terrain piece. It is basically all just rocks. Some of them are Necron-flavored rocks. Just like thingies,
like this
pyramid thingies. Yeah. It's pyramids and rocks. None of it is breachable. None of it you can actually properly hide behind, because it's all like, none of it is like L-shaped or whatever. So whenever you walk either right or left, you can draw an angle. So my opponent wins the roll-off for first terrain drop and slams a rock down the middle. And it was just like the rudest thing possible, because he basically just went, all right, you can now... He just made half of the middle marker completely unholdable. Because the rock is more than 3 inches wide.
Yeah.
So if you just put it on the middle marker, you can only hold the middle marker from one side. From the other side, you can't reach it. It's not breachable. You have to go all the way around that rock.
On his side.
Sure, but then he won the roll-off to switch sides, so it was on my side. So he just goes for the absolute gamble play of just slamming that rock down first, making the marker so you can only hold it from one side, then making one deployment zone like really awful, and then winning the second roll-off to make me have the awful side where I can't where I cannot even touch the middle marker from my side without first driving over to like basically his deployment zone. And then won the third roll-off to go first. And at that point, I just told him, "You owe me a beer." Like in my mind, I was like, I'm pretty sure I've lost. We haven't rolled any dice yet other than the roll-offs, But I was like, fuck it. You owe me a beer. You just won all 3 roll-offs against me and did these terrible things to the terrain. You know. Little did I know beer was crazy expensive at the venue, so maybe I shouldn't have said that. But hey,
Never again.
$10 for a beer is a choice.
Well,
so yeah,
for winning 3 roll-offs, I think that's $10 worth.
yeah, sure. So then
Miller
he
Lite.
goes first, and the only thing I can do is basically go. There's like 2 forests, and I just went. My entire deployment zone's like useless. I'm just gonna touch my fortresses into the forest and hope, right? So he goes first, and every single las cannon connects on 5-ups. The Lehman Russes just are not missing on 5-ups to hit into the forest. 5-ups with the las cannons and bolters, 4-ups with the cannons, and he just like through 2 auto passes just kills a fortress without using Kazakin. He holds back his Kazakin at the back of the table edge and just goes, you know what, I don't need these, and kills a fortress with just long range fire. And I'm like, that was pretty rough for me. But that was the big thing. I think that was a huge missed opportunity from him there, because if he just decides to demolish me there, uses the Kazakin anyways, 50-50 splits them into my 2 fortresses, they should both drop by about 10 wounds. If he 50-50 splits, I should be taking 10 damage per fortress. And I have 2 fortresses at 6 life, and then he actually ends up killing both of them on his first turn. And then I think I genuinely can just surrender. I probably would have still played with having like the Terminators and the bikes, because that's the stuff that plays the mission. But at that point, I don't know how I'm supposed to come back. But he only kills 1 fortress, and he doesn't properly hide those Kazakin at the back. So it goes to my turn, and I get 1 shot with a Magna Rail at his Kazakin, and I'm just like,
Wait, you could shoot the Kazakin with your fortress?
Well, yeah, they were on his back bordage, but you can't hide 10 infantry models.
So he was a fool for
It's
not
too big a
putting
fortress. It's too big a footprint. If I move 10 inches, I can see it.
Fred's just relieved.
This is
Like,
the
what do you
Necron
mean?
table, man. Like, he
It's the
put them
Necron.
as hidey as he can in his deployment zone. But 10-inch
can
move on a
you can
fortress
only hide
just
in the
gets
tomb
him.
underneath the ground, yeah. So.
Dude, I don't
Yeah,
know.
where you're dead.
But I go 2 up to hit rerollable, and I miss. 1 in 36 chance to just miss the Kazakin and don't kill them. And at that point, I'm just like, dude, what is happening this
you
game?
missed?
Yeah, on a 2-up rerollable, I just missed them
Oh
with the Magna Rail shot.
No.
Which would have, killed. I had the flip ready to do the 6 spill, to do the damage spill. Like, he had the Kazakin don't even get a save; they're just gone.
Yeah.
If I hit the 2-up.
Yeah, you killed
the reroll.
6 plus 2d3 Kazakin. They're gone. Yeah.
Yes. But I missed the 2-up rerollable. So, and this is like kind of like. I'm looking at all these big things going really wrong, and I'm like a little bit like, oh my god, what is happening? But I got a teleport with my Terminators on the right flank, kind of behind a rock, because Americans in screening, name a more iconic duo. Shoot infantry, charge his Death Strike missile, kill the Death Strike missile in melee, tag the infantry. There was like 1 guy surviving after the shooting. That guy runs away, so I don't get a rep there, but whatever.
Yes.
Like demolish that flank. Left flank, bikes go out, shoot at infantry. I shoot at every single infantry model I can see. And that first turn, I did not shoot at a single Lehman Russ. I just decided that, like, if I was going to have a chance at winning this game, my second fortress would just have to roll better than my first. Like, on average, the Lehman Russes don't kill my fortress. It should need the Kazakin or like stuff like that to kill the fortress. So it's just like, I'm not allowed to go shoot at Lehman Russes right now. I just have to kill the scoring units. And then he goes for the same plan, says he needs to kill the scoring units, and actually uses his key Kazakins, which lived because I didn't hit my 2-up rerollable, and split fires them into all my bikes, basically, on one flank. And it kills the bikes on that flank. Which is like, I think it was like I like the idea because I was like trying to gun down all his infantry and make it so he can't score, and so he
Yeah.
did. So I would have OPSEC and he didn't, and he wanted to counter that by killing my bikes. But the problem is, if he doesn't have OPSEC and I don't have OPSEC, then I have
You win the
Terminators
Yeah.
and I
So-
have fortresses that count as 5 models, and I can still just bully him, and the game kind of like he then on his next turn just shoots my fortress again, but this time I'm still in that forest, right? And this time he doesn't connect everything, and the fortress just shrugs it. Like it should have turn 1.
Is it still in the forest?
Like I moved
Right.
it forward so the back edge was still touching the forest, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, like I realized that because he fails to kill the Terminators on the right flank, I still have my Terminators in my backfield that I haven't teleported yet, and I have like 2 bikes left total, and my character's in 1 fortress. I'm like, honestly, I've only lost like maybe what is that? Like 2 squads of bikes, a fortress, and my berserkers. Like it's painful, but it's not a game losing amount.
Mhm.
And the funny thing is with Votann, when the scariest turn is turn 1, because your opponent has 2,000 points to shoot at you, and with 2,000 points you can one shot a fortress. But turn 2 he only has maybe less to shoot at me, and then it doesn't one shot the fortress, and then it heals back, and then the next turn he has even less to shoot at me, and then I just like that critical mass. He didn't have it anymore.
And you
So
have
by
the
turn,
2 saves. You can always one save you can make to 0 damage. You can
yeah,
put
and one where I use Uther, and that's kind of comfortable if my opponent goes first.
Mhm.
I always have Uther ready on their turn because it's the fresh battle round.
Yeah.
I can see if I need it, and if I don't need it, I use it on my turn to do damage.
Yeah.
So at that point, I just had bottom of turn. I just bullied into the middle with my fortress, and eventually ended up in situations where I was just charging my fortress at his Lehman Russes. Because the difference between a Lehman Russ and a fortress is the fortress does not care if it's tagged in melee. Like the fortress will shoot into combat and kill the Lehman Russ, but the Lehman Russ cannot shoot into
Yeah.
combat with the fortress.
Yeah, I was going to say that the Limon Roster shoots out of combat at worst. But
Yeah, but like
at worst though, he shoots out of combat worst, but he does shoot out of
Mhm.
combat.
yeah, but like the things out of combat were character behind my fortress, and like Terminator behind because you can't move the Russ, so at that point I can actually control where it's going, and then suddenly the Russ has no targets, and
Nice.
it was like I kind of just managed to get into this end game, and then in the end game, Votann are really good. Like if you're turn 4 and 5 and there's still a fortress on the table, Votann are just winning. Like that's on these open tables. That's really nice. So that was like
my
possibly
summary
my
would
most. Yeah.
my summary would be your opponent basically went first but didn't go into the alpha strike enough, right?
Yeah, just bad target allocation, I would say. And I think he got kind of baited into because he killed a fortress with just his Lehman Russes turn 1, he thought he could do it again turn 2. So he didn't use the Kazakin on the second fortress. But it was crazy rolling that managed to do it turn 1. And then turn 2 he just rolled normal and the fortress just didn't care.
What, Arne? You're telling me two plasma executioner don't kill in a fortress, or was it 3? How many did I need in our practice game? I remember you were calculating for me I can never kill it, and I just shoot random plasma cannons and kill a fortress.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean, right? Like sometimes the plasma cannons just go crazy and you just die. And it just happens, and you kind of have to just be like, "Yep, it's outside of my control. Can't do anything about it."
You could roll better saves.
That is true. So the final score for that game was 93 to 61 for me, and it's 61 because the guy got 4 points on RBD because all his infantry was fucked. 7 points on boots on the ground because all his infantry was gone. and 10 points on inflexible command because all his infantry was gone. And then that was just the game. I killed all the infantry. He couldn't score anymore. Like, he got a 12 on turn 2.
Hmm.
And like, this has been a pattern. If I go second, I've been giving up 12s on like turn 2 because I don't have
Yeah.
that explosive push.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
have those explosive OPSEC jump pack units that just jump in the middle and score a point.
And you have
I'm just
zero
like,
stuff which is like
You-
replaceable.
You didn't
Like,
give me a
Yep.
12 on turn 2. That's not nice of you. I wanted a
no,
12.
that's true. Not you. You don't deserve that. Neither of us scored primary in that game. Don't be.
No, I
weird
scored a
here.
4. Get out of here.
No. Oh right, we
Yeah.
actually wrote that down, did we?
Yeah, I did.
In the Ogden game, neither of us got to the point where we could score primary.
spoiler
Okay.
alert.
Sure.
Okay, this was a very intense game, turn 2, which
It
you
was intense. It was
managed to
glorious.
win, even though you went
Yes.
second on this
Yeah.
board. Even though you didn't get the wrong table, like the bad table, and you didn't get to make a bad table, table half, I should say. How about your games 3 and 4? I imagine they were also quite intense because you had to draw in the last round, right?
So
And-
game 3 was very chill. Game 3, I got Black Templars, and then I went first. And the final score was 99 to 33. And that was the game. There's not much to be said. I just shot the guy. Like, he deployed his whole army behind a rock, and then I went, cool, I'm going to move here and see behind the rock, move here and see behind the rock, and then I'm going to move bikes and see behind the rock. And I shot with every unit in my army on turn 1, and then he died.
I think I have the solution. We just need to, like, the player going first cannot move his army, and then this terrain is fine. This is like not made for
Maybe, yeah.
units that
the
have a
terrain is
move
not-
characteristic.
Yeah, move characteristics greater than 3 inches are kind of broken on Adepticon terrain. Because you can just always see. So that was that. And then game 4 was Black Templars again, but a very different breed of Black Templars. It was Ben Shervin. Guy is a monster. He also went first, which honestly makes all the difference as well. He was playing the Tank Rush. So you had like a Gladiator Reaper, 2 Gladiator Lancers, and then some ungodly amount of Impulsors. I want to say like 5. With Assault Intercessors inside. And because he's Black Templars, everything gets mini transhuman, everything gets a 5-up invuln, and everything gets free multi-meltas. So every Impulsor is a free multi-melta, every Gladiator is a free multi-melta. And he just went first and just ran it. Just went, alright, Impulsors go 14 forwards. Reaper goes 10, I guess, is the move characteristic on that forwards. The Lancers are the only thing staying back on the objectives. Everything shoots my fortress. So I took like 4 damage and healed back. Because that's multi-meltas. And not guard.
Classic.
I will say on average I should take more damage.
Mm-hmm.
But I will also say it's incredibly swingy, and meltas are not really good at killing fortresses. It's just that Strength 8 is too swingy. Strength 8, no wound reroll. No damage reroll too, so when you like roll a shit damage roll, because you're out of 12, you're just stuck with it. So, yeah, it's just kind of like, yeah. And then it just like, it was a crazy game where I was just trying to, like, I never left my deployment zone that whole game. I spent all 5 turns in my DZ. Except teleporting Terminators behind him because he's American. No, I think he may be intentional. I don't know if he wanted to screen there, but he did leave me his characters to shoot.
I mean, if everything is so open, then like usually you have screening units which are like expendable, small, easy to kill units that hide behind buildings. But if there's nothing to hide, and then it's like, do you really want to spend so much points to screen one turn because it's going to be short of an?
I guess the question is like, do you want your characters to be the backmost unit and then nothing behind them, and then teleport Terminators behind them and shoot them in the back? Because I kind of did that to multiple opponents, and he was one of them. And it didn't pay off as well as I wanted because his characters are stupid tanky, and 5 of Feel No Pain versus Mortal Wounds makes the Terminators like.
Was it just a bait?
Maybe it was just bait. I was still happy with it because I kind of deep strike like next to his home marker, shot him in the back, forced him to turn around. So I was still happy with it. But that was the only, like, the Terminators were basically the only thing that ever left my deployment zone. I was just in that deployment zone shooting. And the good thing was, because it was mission 33, I just gave him 12s all game. I didn't care. I still maxed primary because it was mission 33. Yeah. And then that was the draw, because in the end, like, I didn't end up killing him. He didn't end up killing me. But, like, he got 7 on engage, 13 on oath, and 12 on banners. And I got 14 on bring it down, 9 on banners, and 9 on grind. And that adds up to the same amount of secondaries in the end. So we ended up 87 to 87.
He didn't deny you any primaries, did he?
Sure. No, I got 8-8. I got 8-8-8-12.
Oh, okay, because I thought maybe if he pushed you so much and he has so much transport where you shoot something and then come out and
all that stuff that counts as 2 or 5 models standing on the markers on my side.
So he came onto your objective. He managed to get on your objectives,
yeah,
but he didn't.
We had a brawl on.
Mhm.
Yeah, we had some brawls on my side of the table, but I just kind of held on, and like just reinforced the objectives with as many models as I could.
So I guess a greater Thurian League came in handy.
This was a definite greater Thurian League win. And I also, like, the Meltas were AP5, so like Ymir would have been good here, but I didn't lose either of my fortresses in that game. So
that's so nice. So they shoot just 5 turns.
Yeah. Well, one fortress was tagged in melee by Terminators, and could never free itself. Because he had the Termi squad with the -1 damage sergeant, with a 5 of Feel No Pain on the whole squad.
Ugh.
Yeah. So I just basically went, cool, your Terminators cannot kill my fortress. My fortress cannot kill your Terminators. We are stuck here. Neither of us is on an objective. We're just living here now. But my other fortress is doing its thing, But yeah, that was it was very silly. So that was game 4. That was day 1. I was hella tired by the end of that. And my voice was screwed.
Yeah, we can still hear that.
Yeah.
This was a great rundown. My impression is like you still got some interesting games there.
I did,
but they're quite swingy.
Quite different from what I'm used to.
So, how do we continue? Let's go to the top cut. So this was the next day. It was only 16 players. Nassim, maybe we can go back and forth. This was 4 more games? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Wow, so many. That's a lot of
lot
more games.
Yeah, it's 8 games of 40k. Yeah. I mean, just to go through my top cut. I mean, I'm gonna kind of skim through the first 2. 1, because I actually don't have that much more time, but 2, because they were actually quite fast. So my first game against the Nids, I kind of just went first. He didn't screen his backfield. I teleported Kazakin's there, shot his Tyrant Guard, killed them, shot his zones, killed 2 of those, and now his Tyrants were in line of sight. I was like, nice. So I killed 1 that had the shot gullet, and I left the other one on 2 wounds, and I had killed 27 out of 30 of the bugs, Termagants. And then in response, his Tyrant effect pops off and generally just picks up a it was actually funny. Like, his Tyrant effect pops up and just picks up a Human Rust, 3 -1 hit. He just said, cool, 4 hits, 3 wounds. I failed 2 saves, and he kills me. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I was like, all right. And then turn 2, he like with that he was no, sorry, his turn 1. He also moves up.
Wait, is this your quick rundown?
Yeah, this is my quick rundown because this is me describing the game, and then he concedes in his charge phase. uh, because he follows the charge, but I'm like, oh, nice, right, move it in. He moves it in. It fails to kill a Chimera, and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, and he just looked at me. Oh, do you just want to talk it out and figure out what the score is? And I'm just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I just table you this time. He's like, yep. Well, actually, he agreed, and I was like, actually, no, I can't reach your backfield objective for the next 2 turns. So you're gonna get 2 4s and a banner there and a banner there and a banner there, and after that you get nothing. So I was like, cool, you're gonna score like 42 was the actual score. He's not gonna score 80 points, and I was like, I'm gonna score 97. And then my second game I played with Necrons, and he goes first, pushes up. Then I turn 1 kill 6 Scorpex, put the Silent King down to 12 wound, hurt his stuff. The game got like he also tries to concede like turn 3, and then the judge said, oh yeah, so if you concede it's like 70 points to 30, and I was like, okay, well I refuse your concession because I want to score 97, and I keep playing, and then he was a really lovely guy, Chris. He was really nice. But then I beat him. He scored like 44. And yeah, so that was that game. And then probably my most interesting game. Sorry, Arne.
All good.
Our game was lovely, but it was quite simple.
No. You're not my most interesting game either. Don't worry.
Yeah. It was these.
Just my funniest.
Yeah, it was these Nicholas Rose, Nick Rose. And essentially the game went like this. He plays. I mean, you can kind of see it on like the stream because Joe switches his camera, and I know it's on the Patreon stream. And essentially, what happens is I go first. I kill one of the bike squads that had a 5 no pain. I bring I bring like one of his 20 acolytes down to 1, and he regrows back to 9. But what really hurts was essentially when I did my turn 2, he had lost all of his bikes. I had lost a Lehman Russ and 3 Sentinels. But he had lost all of his bikes, so he had no more forward pressure for Bruce on my side anymore, really. Because the rocks weren't breachable, and I had the command squad of 12-inch Deep Strike the Knife screening that flank, and my guardsmen also screening the other flank, and I just had a 10 guardsmen screening the other flank. So I was like, cool, you can't come anywhere near on my half of the board. So he comes on his half of the board, shoots me, kills, I don't know, like 1 armored sentinel with his shooting, kills 1 armored sentinel with his shooting, charges, basically kills the Demon Rush because I spent 2 CP to kill it with Desperate Breakout. And then my turn 3 was essentially me putting my mortars into line of sight, and I killed all 60 acolytes, one of his characters. 60 neophytes, 15 acolytes equivalent. And then going into his turn 3, he's just trying to figure it out, and then he concedes. Like I just shot a mortar team into each acolyte squad because it's just max shots, and I was hitting on freeze because I just moved them into line of sight with AP1. So I was like, cool, freeze rolling ones, freeze rolling ones, freeze roll ones. And then the Caskins, I was like, cool, 2 CP, and they just cleaned up all 3 squads. And yeah, he was like, yeah, checks out.
Who went first in this game?
I did.
You went, okay.
Yeah.
And he deployed his bikes on the board, right? Or he like tried to hide them as good as possible.
Yeah, he did. To be fair, and to be fair to him, I could only shoot them with the. I could shoot them with everything apart from the Scout Sentinel squad and the Caskins.
But you can still get all your Lehman Russes to shoot even when he tries to hide, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that because he wanted to kind of be there, because like he was like -1, -2 to hit, and had his 5-pin one there. By the way, that 5-pin one is way better than your mini transhuman bullcrap and ignore modifiers stuff. I don't care about it anymore. That 5-pin one is so frustrating to deal with. It's insane.
It's a Papa Princess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also made him better in combat, which matters for all of his little acolytes to help him score and kill stuff.
Yeah.
So he's like, I was like, oh, this actually hurts, and it's durable. The shooting isn't as good, 100%, because you take the penalties, but you live for longer, so you can actually score more, and you're not worried about just getting tabled because you actually survive. And yeah, then I played vs Arne, and I went first.
Yeah. You did.
Yeah.
So hold on. This was your three Top Guards game, though. So this was the semifinal against GC, and you
Yeah.
already mentioned it. For everyone who wants to watch that, the whole event was streamed by War Games Live. Amazing American streaming. I would say person going around to all these big tournaments and streaming their games. Has a great setup, and this game wasn't streamed on the main YouTube channel, but like for patrons only. So I put a link to this stream in the description as well for you guys listening. But you can you have to be a patron to watch to listen. But I can really recommend becoming a patron of Joe because
It's
he does
worth
an
it.
amazing job and is worth it.
Yeah.
And you can watch Nazim's game, like semi-final game there. And I think Anna, you sent me one already. This was which game was
I
it?
think one of my most interesting games. That was my round.
It's the
That
Iron
was
Hands.
my quarterfinal versus Iron Hands. Is also on the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we will
Warriors
come to
Live
that as well. Nice. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
links for that are in description. In description, I can really recommend, guys. Nazim, a question for the Gene Stealer code because I feel like we have also in Germany have one of our biggest tournaments yet coming up, and the board tend to be more open than the other ones, the two majors before that. And my thinking was also, oh yeah, it's going to be shooting gallery, but maybe armies like a GC, who can basically null deploy or have some kind of they don't really seem to rely on hiding, and they have something to bridge the gap from maybe
Yeah.
the points where
They
you can
don't.
hide to your opponent. Is that something
Yeah.
you think it's viable, or is it like maybe only theory?
I think they're alright for the sole fact that it's kind of really. I mean, it's kind of with GSC. They can just no deploy you, and he kind of did with me. Of course, if you take loads of bikes, bikes take a massive footprint, and there's 30 of them, so it's gonna be hard to do so. But they're
Mhm.
definitely one of those armies. They have loads of models. You can no deploy because in deployment you don't always. You have a rough idea where they go, but they can always just shenanigan stuff. They can piss off in reserves and shoot you really well. Yeah, so it's definitely a good army to play, even on light terrain.
Yeah, he went all the way to the semifinals. Do you know what armies he faced before that? Did he also win against guard players before that?
Yeah, I know he played with Marines, beat Marines, he beat Votann, and and I thought he was gonna lose to Votann because Votann play was killing like a lot. But maybe like 5-up in one and then regrowing D6 guys is what 2D6 essentially is really really good. It's like that war of attrition where he
Yeah.
shows the special weapons. You kill the special weapons, cool. He's now out of line of sight. Enjoy. And just on one tap in that squad is harder than it seems.
It's really hard. Yeah.
And now we're gonna go through Arne's top card matches until the final one, because maybe there's an interesting final.
Well, so my first game of the top cut was versus Tao. It was Nas. I'm terrible with names.
Brenton.
Brenton.
He didn't.
Yeah, Brenton.
Brenton, we don't screen.
Brenton screens are for non-Americans. Yeah. I'm sorry. The guy we spent a lot of time in deployment on that game. And he was like being super like because you know how I am, like if someone asks me, can you see this, I'll be like, let me be very precise here and make sure that you actually are out, right? I don't want to like catch you on it when I move. So he was like trying to get his crisis hidden from my fortresses, and eventually he managed to get it to where no matter which fortress moved which way, I could not hit that one squad of crisis. I was like, all right, you're good, right? That crisis is hidden. Then I went first. Pre-game moved bikes. Teleported Terminators behind him. Because he didn't screen.
And suddenly like 4 units can see him.
Moved the bikes again. They're now an inch away from the crisis. Moved the bikes on the other side. They're now like 2 inches away from his hammerheads. And visibility to all his crude stuff. So I go and like just nuke the entirety of his crude infantry, like hounds and crude, with the bike squad on the left because I don't like scoring units. And then tag his hammerhead and his vespids, which leads to him not being able to place banners there because he has no more infantry that isn't tagged. On the other side, I have the Terminators. They're just on his backboard edge, and they just have options. And I'm like, well, do I just shoot like Aunva? Because he's just vibing on the backfield marker unscreened? Or do I like just shoot at the crisis and I just go like, well, the only thing Aunva is really buffing is the crisis. So, shoot the bikes first, do the thing where they place a marker light on the crisis, shoot the crisis with the Terminators, blow up like all the drones in 2 suits or something like that. There's like 3 suits left, but one of them's already wounded at this point. One of them's like, down to a wound or whatever. And then, just like, oh, and then obviously the fortresses just shoot at the Riptide because
there was one point where he could hide some stuff.
There was a point where he could hide the crisis. That
but not the rest of the stuff.
I couldn't see the rest of his army.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. And then he basically goes like, he like that's my turn 1, right? I fail the 9-inch charge with the Terminators. Doesn't even matter. The bikes are in on both sides, so everything's tagged. And he doesn't have a crisis commander in his list. So he's not falling back and shooting until turn 3. He's just stuck there. Naz, you're muted. Naz, you're muted. But I can see in your face.
Oh no! Why do you not have crisis commanders? Oh, why? Stop, people, stop.
Yeah,
well,
so
crisis
I guess 4 rounds before that, he didn't need it because no one managed to like bridge the gap.
Oh my god, that is actually like a migraine attack. Wow.
Yeah, so yeah. So then he basically looks at the board and goes like, yo, do you want to just take 100 to 85? And I'm like, what?
What do you mean 85? You'll be lucky
Yeah,
to break it.
I don't think you're breaking 40, mate. So in my app here, I have this listed as 29-0 opponent conceded turn 1. In the actual tournament, he was like, oh, okay, well then here and blah blah blah, and like played like maybe another turn, like did a little bit of talking, ended up at like 40-ish points. But like, yeah,
I mean, he was nice enough. He was nice enough to give you target practice.
Did you need it for another tower in the end? That was the only tower you played, right?
It was the only tower I played.
Yeah. While we are at Tau, I asked something similar to for the GC. We have a quite shooty meta in Arc of Omen now. You had very open tables. Some table, for example, UKGC compared to WCC, sometimes seems to be more open. In Germany, we have quite a variety of table layouts right now at the big majors happening. Is Tau is it the shooty army that can compete in the shooty meta?
No. I'm gonna say no because they just don't have enough stuff, and their stuff isn't durable enough. Like Votann don't have enough stuff, but they're still somewhat durable, and actually somewhat, alpha strikey. Tau have kind of lost their alpha.
What do you mean by stuff?
I mean, they just don't. They literally just don't have enough units. So one thing is that Tau immediately lose these Marines and Guard because they just lose all of this stuff to hold points and actually score the mission that they need to do from behind walls. The Guard and Marines have better secondaries.
But don't talk about secondaries. Secondaries didn't matter in like 50% of the games you guys talked about now.
Sure. But even then, it's like they just don't.
You could have taken Banners, Assassination, and Grind in like quite a few of these games you guys talked about.
but the problem is that in a normal game and even in a shooting game, there's other armies that just shoot better now.
And Tao is on the other end of that.
Yeah, Tao still shoot good, but not shoot good enough.
Yeah, it's just like
Is it-
Tao just feels like budget guard right now.
yeah, like they can still do a lot of damage. Like when I played with Ben in the teams, like I still like killed a lot. He was like, no, that wasn't skill, that was luck, and I was like, yeah. I was also, it was also my millions of games of split firing. I know how to split fire.
Hmm.
But like Tao can still be good. He's not the
Some
very
stuff.
top.
I mean, a railgun compared to a Lehman Russ, it's a bit cheaper. It has more impact against like single model units, maybe, but it's less durable.
It feels
But-
like Tao need to jump through a bunch of hoops to get to where guard is natively. It's like, yeah,
Yes.
if I get my marker lights on you and I can make my railhead hit on threes, and the guard's just like, I'm a turret weapon. I hit on threes. And like,
And I have
you know,
rerolls.
and I have a banner and
Exactly.
ignore stuff, and I have
like
100 point Kazakin, yeah.
Yeah, I have an actual plan against wound caps, and I have like, you know,
So what basically Tao need a unit of Kazakin, then they're fine, right? Let's say, is that
please
okay?
don't.
Yes.
Please do
Please
not.
What was that?
Okay, let's go on to your second top card round.
Yeah. So the second round of the top card, this would be round 6. This was maybe like this was my most interesting game of the top cut. This was versus Iron Hands. The guy's just an absolute maniac and plays 2 squads of Devastators with las cannons in Iron Hands. And I'm like, what the hell? And then he
no
goes
drop pod.
first.
Or is it in drop pod?
No drop pod, no. Just foot slugging las cannon Devastators.
Nice.
And then 1 squad of Grav Melta Devastators in outflank. So he goes first, and the first thing he does is just walk the Devastators out in the open and shoot at my fortress. And in my mind, I'm like, mate, you're about to find out why you don't do this. Because, like, it's 10 shots of las cannons. You're going to get, like, 9 hits. You're going to get, like, 6 wounds. I'm going to make 2 of those saves. I'm going to ignore 2 of the failed saves. And you're going to do 2d6 damage to me.
Because they are old las cannons with d6 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 2d6 damage. I was like, well, I'll take like 7 damage, and then I'll heal 4 back, and then you lose all your Devastators. So obviously he goes 10 hits, 9 wounds, and I fail 6 saves, and he gets 4d6 damage through, which, like, sure, that hurts. 4d6 in his world is 17, so I just die.
He's like, I'm right.
And I'm just like, all right. And I straight up, like, I click the clock over to me, and I go, 1 moment. I need a moment to reflect on what just happened. Give me the clock real quick, just to, like, sit down and think about what the fuck these dice just did to me. Yeah. And then, like, I kind of, like, gathered myself and was like, well, you know, like, this is what we do. We show up to the table, go second, and get fucked. Let's just keep playing, right? And then just went and kept playing, and yeah, the really nice thing was, so my other fortress shoots back and one shots both Devastator squads, obviously. No questions asked.
Good.
And then the whatchamacallit, and then from that point onward, I charged a unit of my not berserkers, my terminators, just walked forwards and charged infiltrators that were on the middle marker. And was kind of hoping I'd kill them, but I didn't, so he just gets a 12. But I was like, well, you know, it's outside of my control. It's just things we do. We just keep playing. It's fine. He gets a 12. We're going to catch up in the late game, maybe. We'll see. We'll just make a game out of it. And then he brings in, like, all his reserves. And at first he's like, I'm going to kill that fortress. And then he shoots some melters at the fortress. And the fortress just does not take a damage. And he's like, actually, that was a terrible idea. And then shoots the bikes instead. But at that point, he'd already wasted some shots at the fortress. So at that point, it was kind of too late. And then I go with out with 2 units of bikes, and I just pick up I don't know how many units I killed that turn, but it was something absurd. He had because he was playing speeders and a bunch of solo speeders, solo attack bikes. Devis was out of reserves, blah 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 blah. And I was just going okay, split bikes 3 ways, kill 2 units, wound 1. Split the next bikes 3 ways, kill a unit, kill another wounded 1, wound something else. Split the fortress 3 ways, kill 3 things. Just rolling through all those units. And he was kind of starting to run out of OPSEC shit. Because at that point I had my fortress on the center marker. And it took him actually that he didn't shoot at bikes there. At first he was I'm going to shoot the fortress, but then he had my terminators that had charged on the middle marker with those infiltrators. The infiltrators fell back from me, and then I just stood there with the termies on the marker, and it's termies in cover, and they just have a 0 up. Yeah, they're void armor. They have a 0 up, and they're T5, and you can't reroll wounds against them, and they're just chilling there. And he shoots at them with grav, and they shrug it. Because it's only AP4, so I get a 4 up against them. And it's damage 2, which goes down to 1, so I don't care. Even when I fail it, I just lose half a termy. And then, he makes the terrible mistake of throwing a crack grenade with his Vanguard veterans that had previously planted a banner on his home objective. And I go, get fucked! And just shoot my termies into the Vanguard veterans with reactive reprisal. And just kill 3 out of 5 Vanguard veterans. And suddenly he's suddenly he's priced into using his entire shooting phase to maybe hopefully clear out those terminators, because there's 2 terminators left on that marker by the time he's done shooting all his meltas, and that counts as 4 models. And it's not easy. And they can heroic, so just he just had a terrible time dealing with those terminators.
He should have had Kaskin. He should have had Kaskin.
He should have had Kazakin. They just killed him.
Kazakin for everyone.
It was just there was this moment where he had just lost half the squad of more than half the squad of Vanguard veterans to my reactive reprisal, and I'm standing in a ruin with Chapter Master rerolls. So if he charges me now with these Vanvets, they're not surviving Overwatch.
Oh, and you cannot shoot in your next shooting phase, but you can still shoot in Overwatch.
I can still Overwatch. So he is forced to kill these Terminators in shooting. And that just consumes his entire shooting phase in the end. And it just kind of kept basically trading up. Kept being here's 1 unit that's going to take 4 of your units to actually deal with. And then I'm going to kill all the 4 units.
And seems to be the same thing again, that at the beginning someone can handle 1 fortress, but then for the rest of the game, the second fortress is not to be handled.
Correct. The second fortress is immortal. That's actually I really disagree with playing 1 fortress, because I think if you play 1 fortress, you lose it. But if you play 2 fortresses and your opponent overextends into killing 1, the second one will win the game. Hopefully, not against God.
Not against Kazakin.
Yeah, because they don't overextend. They use 100 points to do it. It was a super cool game. At the very end of the game, I got him because screening is hard. So I teleported Terminators into one of his backfield ruins, shot him off his home objective with them, because he had his Contemptor standing there, and the Contemptor was on max tokens. So just blast the Contemptor with the all the weapons from the Termies, and then just stood there in his ruin. And next turn, I walk on all my claim markers with them. I did that turn 4 teleport, shoot him with his home objective. He doesn't get any markers turn like top of 5, and then bottom of 5, I just get a 12, get a 15 on lay claim, and I kind of just maxed out my score. So in the end, the score was like really decisive, but it really did not feel that way for the whole game. It was a crazy game. Loved that one. Like, it was honestly, I talked to the guy later. Like, he was a great opponent. I just had a ton of fun playing, and it was a great game. Yeah, and then I played versus Thomas Ogden. And he deploys.
Nice and brief.
Yeah, it's a very short one. So he deploys.
Yeah. We had it on stream. I was gathering everyone. I was like posting Instagram, Discord, like guys, Arne is finally on the stream. He's gonna play Ogden. Yeah. I'm like hyping him up. I'm like, look at this guy. He's the top ranked top ranked in the ELO ranking. Has like a 95% win rate in all the stats they have for him. And then you stand there just being zen.
He just didn't screen his Kazakin, so I go first and I teleport my Terminators and I shoot Kazakin and Leontos and 9-inch charge Leontos. And I failed the 9-inch charge and I failed to kill Leontos, but it doesn't even matter because I killed the Kazakins. And then I also got, with my pregame moves, I just got to the point where I think I killed very close to every infantry model in his army. Turn 1. Like, he had a singular mortar out of 9. Survived 1 activation.
Another Kazakin unit.
He had a Kazakin unit with a key. And then he had his banner.
And he didn't have them in 6 inches to Leontos, because he somehow redeployed them, right?
He redeployed Leontos over to the other Kazakin. He told me later his plan was like, if I push up, he would give the Leontos rerolls to that squad of Kazakin on the right from the stream side out, walk them forwards and just shoot me without teleporting. But those were the Kazakins he didn't screen, so they were dead. So there was nothing to give rerolls to. And then he kind of just got, like, he played his first turn still just to see if he maybe high rolls, but he didn't. And then he just gave up.
Yeah, and that was game.
That was game.
I think it was the really beautiful move was that you tagged 2 Leman Russ who were basically hiding. And because they were hiding, you could also hide from them. So after you tagged them, they had nothing to shoot at. So you basically just 2 bike units for a turn basically killed 2 Leman Russ. And they weren't not taking part of the game anymore.
It isn't even for a turn, right? Because those were plasma spawns and Leman Russes. They cannot shoot into combat.
Yeah.
They didn't have weapons that go into combat. So they were just stuck there. And they don't fall back and shoot. So they just stayed in melee with me. And I was like, well, if it goes back to my turn, I'm just going to fall back and shoot with the bikes. Like, my bikes aren't stuck here with you. They are not limited by your rules. They can shoot in combat if they want, but they can also just fall back and shoot. So, you know. But yeah, it didn't come to that. I didn't get to play a second turn. Yeah.
It was an amazing game. I really recommend watching it. It's on the the normal YouTube channel from War Games Live. Link will be in the description. It's a super fun game. Also, you got like a lot of fans after the stream. I was even saying like, guys, you're gonna be a fan of Arne after you watch this game. And then then you went first. And you're like, okay, let's go. And you really put on the speed. You were you put so much speed on. You were like, okay, this fortress has nothing to shoot, but it's just gonna kill 10 guardsmen. And like. Obviously they're dead, but you like forget a sentinel at the corner, but it didn't matter.
To be fair, that guy was invisible. Like there was a ruin and he was right behind it, and I just straight up couldn't see it.
I said that to him afterwards, like, what the fuck do you not just shoot the sentinel? I was like, oh, I just forgot he existed. I was like, fuck's sake, on.
Yeah.
It didn't matter.
In my mind, it didn't matter because I had this plan that I needed to execute, and I didn't want to let anything else distract me. So I wasn't thinking of like, oh, what does this fortress need to do? I was like, okay, I need to kill these Kazakin, I need to tag these tanks, and I need to tag this shit in the middle. And yeah, that was basically what I did. It's definitely like a case study in like just the absurd amount of damage that Votann can do going first. it is not normal. Like that army is really absurd when it gets to shoot at you.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's basically that. Also screen, please guys. There's these 9-inch sticks that you can use to make sure you don't leave a gap where your opponent can jump and shoot your characters. I highly recommend them to specifically all the American viewers. Sorry, I got so many games that were just freebies because my opponent just decided not to screen. And it's like, I guess I'll take it.
Checks out. You're just dead.
Okay.
So yeah.
We will take a short break and then we will be back and talk about the final game because now you guys both won your semifinals and you met in the finals. Okay, we are back after having some technical difficulties. We will now discuss the final game of the Adepticon 2023. You guys were both in the finals, and I think I will let Nassim do a summary of how the game went down.
All right, so we placed on terrain. The terrain didn't matter, and essentially what we did is rolled off, and I told Arne to roll first. He rolled a 2, and I was like, please God, don't let me lose this roll off. Rolled a dice, and rolled a 3, and I went first. And turn 1, to be fair, you rolled well on saves, but which meant the second fortress was live on 3. But I killed a fortress, killed 3, killed I think total of 5 bikes. No, I killed a total of 4 bikes turn 1.
Yeah, 4.
Killed 4 bikes turn 1, killed 4 of the idiots.
Terminators?
Because you had the base alive, like the
No. So I had the base on a wound and 1 guy, so you killed 3 berserkers.
Killed 3 idiots. Killed a fortress, have the other fortress on 3. And then Arne cracks back, does well, kills a 3 Sky Sentinels that tag him, kills a Leman Rusk, kills another 2 Armored Sentinels, kills a Kaskin, and I was like, oh, this is a good turn. And then I shoot back. I killed that fortress. I kill essentially what was
the other Terminators.
Yeah, I mean, I leave one Terminator on 1 over there. I leave another one on 1. There's 1 bike on 1 wound. So what we had left alive, and I still wasn't done shooting. All he had was 2 Terminators, his characters, and a bike on 1 wound before I before I go to shoot my armor sentinels at the bottom, and my mortars were 4 hit and wound rerolls, 4 hit rerolls, and that's what I had left to shoot, which was essentially gonna kill those remaining Terminators, and because that bike is gonna get charged. And then Arne was like,
on your turn 2, I was down to Uthar and a Tech Marine.
Yeah, and 3 guys to come in.
Yeah,
those
3 grav guys in strat reserves, which would have come in and blown up a tank, and that's what they did.
And then shoot on death and kill them, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And what was the difference in the other games that you were able to kill the second fortress?
I mean, the second fortress should have died 10-1, but you know,
because you probably committed. Your army is maxed out, and you didn't do any blunders.
No, actually, I think you made a mistake there. You fired the entirety of your Kazakin bomb into the front fortress, right, to kill it.
No, I split. I split. That's how I did the.
Oh yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, no, then it's fine. Yeah. So here, that's why he killed 2 fortresses. Is he did the 50-50 split, which means both fortresses take 10 damage.
Yeah,
roughly.
So
which means I have 1 at 6 and 1 at 6, and then the Leman Russes killed the first one, and the second one lived, but it lived on 3 wounds, which means I heal it back to 7, and then the second Kazakin are guaranteed to kill it.
Yeah, which is what happened,
which is what they did.
Yeah. Because I shot my Centaurs into the fortress that they could shoot, and then I was like, cool. And I'm now that I've done what could shoot, my Luminosity can shoot anyone. I'm just gonna fire the Kaskins. That's like dead now. Yeah, it's like so. 1 fortress just died. Yeah, well, sorry, 1 fortress was left on 12 wounds. No, I hadn't shot my Kaskins then. To be fair. because I was going to shoot you with a Lehman Russ to try to bring you down a little bit more, and then that Lehman Russ just kills you, and I'm like, oh, so then I do split, but I
Wait.
split into bikes.
Yeah, exactly. You split into the fortress and the bikes.
Yeah,
I think if your first activation is Kazakin into both fortresses, you get both the fortresses there.
No, because I mean, I also high rolled and killed you that, but I do get what you mean, but then you made all of the gatekeeper saves. You made 4 out of 4, and I was like, all right,
Yeah,
cool.
I failed one CP, rerolled it, and just
Yeah.
lived through the gatekeeper. But
And
then
then
the next tank, I failed 3 on the AP4s and just
And then-
died. And
Yeah,
I decided not to blank anything because that's what let me keep the second fortress around.
Yep.
Because if I use all, you hadn't shot your Kazakins yet. So if I use all my blanks there,
that's
my
why
fortress is down to
that's-
6 wounds,
that's why
and
they
then
want to
it
use the blank.
dies.
That's why they want to shoot the fortresses with the Kazakhans first, because I wanted to see, is he going to
Yeah,
blank
I see.
anything? If he does, cool, shoot.
I
Because
still think it's correct to just
Yeah,
because
no,
this
sure.
way you let me decide that one fortress will die and the other will live.
Yeah,
Whereas I think if you just 50-50 split the Kazakin as your first activation, they should both die.
It's just because I've done that before, and I've whiffed into the fortresses. So I was like, oh, that shouldn't happen. I was like, okay. Well,
fair.
what I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to guarantee it, because you had 12 wounds left, and one of the Lehman Russes ideally wanted to shoot the one on 12. So I was like, cool, that's like perfect. Like, and I wanted to bait out the blanks, because then it means I can shoot the other one and without impunity and just absolutely ream it, because that one had like 2 more wounds. And I was like, cool, shoot there. I was like, oh, he fails the saves. He doesn't want to blank. He's dead. Because it was like 6 wounds, 5 failed saves. And I was like, cool. Even if he blanks both of those, he's down to 3. And I'm like, all right, cool. Then I shoot my other 2 into that one. And I don't need to dedicate as much into that fortress. But I mean, the end result was going to be the same. But yeah.
One big difference to the other guard game is there was no forest on the table. Which means I couldn't just put my fortresses touching a forest. So I was eating the full force of hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, Lehman Russes.
So we have the
There
LVO.
just wasn't a dense cover on the table.
So we have the LVO thing again, where the streaming table has a different terrain than the rest of the
It's
tables.
not different than the rest. It's every table is different than the rest.
Yeah.
Like there was no consistent layouts.
Yeah. And that
Just random.
and that was that. Pretty much
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, it was. I got shot. I died. That's the end of the story, honestly.
And if he goes first, I get shot. I die. There you go. That's it.
That is it. Neither of us could hide. There was no dens. Whichever one of us goes first, will just blow up the other guy.
Yeah, and
it was kind of that. So skill issue. Shouldn't have rolled a 2.
Yeah, you
should have rolled a 4. I'm going first.
Sure. 4 up.
Yeah.
So guys, here we have it. You both have, I would say, optimized army for this setup. You both know exactly what you do. You probably have, at least at this point, you have definitely played the matchup already a few times. Like, what do you say going forward? Like, I hear a lot of people say in Arcs of Omen, the new season, like the ongoing season we are now in, it's more killy. People don't need to pay for troops. People don't need to pay or take stuff for CP. They're not limited by anything. Is this just where we at now? Just go first and roll better?
I'm gonna have to kind of disagree there, because like even at Southampton with Arcs of Omen, a lot of the games that I did win, I went second because like really killy, like Dark Angels and stuff, and I still won like convincingly. I think it depends on terrain like Adepticon. Yes, if you're playing on like balanced terrain on like a dense WTC table, or on like UKTC tables, or on like maybe some of the maybe not super heavy German ones, but like mediocrely heavy like German ones, then it's fine. Like it still comes to like player skill and list design still matters. It's not just you go first win. Saying that, I haven't lost a game with my guard going first, but that's a different story.
I would also say that like there were definite ways that Nassim could have messed up that turn, right? Like he went first and he knew what his target priority was. He knew we just had this little debate on like, well, do you shoot a fortress down to 6 and then split with a Kazakin?
Hmm.
Or do you shoot the Kazakin first and then kill off the fortresses? Like, sure, there's some debate to be had, but like, in the end, he knew his target allocation. He knew what he needed to do. And I think it's like when I go second versus a guard, my hope is that my opponent doesn't execute correctly, right?
Mm-hmm.
'Cause you can still mess it up by just doing your stuff wrong.
Yeah, there's still room for error.
But like, if you're just doing it on like a really shitty board, like we had at Adepticon, if the guard player goes first and they don't mess up, and they know how their rules work and they know what their target allocation should be, they should probably be winning.
And that's that.
Like, that's just that. Yeah. There's a reason Ogden went like 400 out of 400 on day 1 or something silly like that. It just, yeah, really open tables and just crushed people.
Okay. I'm not really sure what to take from this. It's a bit.
What you can take from this is Adepticon terrain is not competitive 40k terrain.
Yeah,
it is not.
That's
tournament terrain. You can't use it for that.
Yeah. Or can you compare that to Las Vegas Open terrain? Because this was also player-placed terrain.
Las Vegas is better.
Las Vegas is significantly better.
Like I was playing with Las Vegas was like it was theatrical and stuff, but you could still I could still hide my DZ in Las Vegas and not get shot.
And if you compare it with like the non-streaming tables, because we really we were streaming it and commentating it from afar, and we were watching mainly the streaming tables. Like we were only watching the streaming tables, and then got some photos from other tables, and we realized, the streaming tables are actually quite different from the terrain.
Adepticon.
Yeah, and at Las Vegas Open.
I mean, because that was essentially the new terrain set, which they surprised everyone with. Like, hey, look, this terrain set, and it was, and that terrain set was, quite dense. And I think there was like 2 other sets, which was which is dense, if not similar, and everything. And like, so Las Vegas had 3 terrain sets that were terrible, like absolutely just terrible. Had 2 terrain sets that were passable, and had 3 that were, you know what, you can actually play a competitive game on this.
Like the terrible terrain sets at Vegas, how do they compare to Necron Table?
Literally, one of them is Necron Table. That's not compared. It's not even a joke. One of them is it's literally Necron Table, except it's better because that one, the Necron one, obscures, and it's fixed, so you can't haha switch sides. But yeah, I'd say
I think Adepticon I've played on tables that I think were worse than anything you could have gotten there. Like the Necron table and that table I played on in the last round of the teams.
Yeah.
With the 4 magic boxes that, because they didn't want magic boxes, were just said they're not breachable. And then all the terrain you had on that table was just 4 boxes.
We played ours as breachable. Because it was just like because it was in the middle, and the Black Templar player literally couldn't hold objectives if it wasn't for that, without being directly in the opera. I was like, you know what, we'll play it as a magic box, but there's windows. I was like, you know what, that's fair. I was like, cool.
Okay. Yeah, no, we stuck with the rulings that the judges said.
I like that. I like that so much. You both of you did that at the final table. Even you were saying, I think Arne started it. I'm not sure anymore, but one of you started saying like
to play bottom floor blocking.
Yeah, because there were runes who all have windows. They all have windows. Yeah, they will all have windows. And then one of you, I think Arne, then you said, but the judges said we should play it as like with windows. And then I think Nassim, you said, but we can play it as with windows, but we are just not agreeing on not shooting through windows.
Yeah, we're just agreeing to not shoot each other through windows. And I was like, I don't know about that. And I was like, we're not shooting each other.
This was amazing.
Because then it becomes really silly. Because you see how open doors are. If you had gone second on that would be even fucking worse for you. It's like the end result didn't change.
Of course, but
Bad. So bad.
I think the result doesn't change. Whoever goes first wins that. Whether there's windows or not, because it wasn't enough to actually hide our armies.
Yeah, you still just fucking die. But yeah, that was Adepticon.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
cool. I don't know, we really digged in deep into the singles. I wanted to talk about the team tournaments, but we're really out of time. And it was not a traditional team tournament anyways. It was with like two doubles team two times doubles playing against the other doubles from the other team. But everyone with the same army, faction, and like switching around the lists and like really weird stuff. You guys ended up winning that as well. Congratulations for that. And I was told it was actually the bigger event. There were more players at this team event. Showing like that in general, it seems more like a we just roll dice event to me, except for a competitive event.
For sure.
That's exactly what it is. It's a we just roll dice event. Stretch. Oh.
Okay. And Anna, you in your final, in your semifinals really said it like the Zen state of, okay, I can control dice. This is a game about dice, so I'm going to accept it and be happy without complaining or like even trying to think about the dice. That was really nice. Yeah, I'm really happy you guys came on to this podcast. This was amazing. I think also we could learn, even though we are like saying, okay, this terrain is not super competitive, but there was a lot of competitive moments in that, and you guys made it all the way to the top, going first, going second. Yeah, thanks for being here. I hope the listeners you liked it. Before I do my own shoutouts, Nassim, please, if you want to do any shoutouts, greetings, do that now.
Shout out to everyone at Adepticon for actually running a good event outside of terrain. Shout out to my team, the Warmasters. Follow us on Instagram at Warmasters40k. And shout out to Team England because we're going to win the WTC this year. Way.
Ooh, then it's time for you, Arne.
Well, who am I shouting out? I guess I'm shouting out hottest takes, which includes the both of you.
Nice.
Thank you.
I'm being like awesome and full of awesome people who invite me over to America to like play awesome 40k on terrible tables with them. Like it was a blast.
Literally.
And then, I mean, I guess if you're going there, no, Team Germany is gonna get it.
Well, doubt. This is why I put my fedora on and go with the just the doubt meme. It's just full out guide.
Well, at least this year, Nassim, they're hiring like the new potential, except for with all the old people than last year.
Got me and Vic unstoppable.
Well,
okay, we will see that there.
Still like that in 10th. All right.
Okay, guys, I hope you liked this podcast. This was another English podcast. We do this once in a while, maybe more if we get more positive feedback for that. I hope to bring you guys some insight into what we do here at the Breaking Heads. Also, I chim in some German insights, and for all the German listeners to bring you the international content and tournaments and players like Nassim. If you want to support us, you can do this on Patreon. You can do this on YouTube. You get stuff as early access and additional content. We're also building up a Discord for all our supporters, where you get some 40k puzzles, TTS maps, and opportunities to play and practice and so on. Check that out. Links are in the descriptions as always. Thanks again to both of my guests, Arne and Nassim. It was a pleasure. And to all our listeners, thanks for listening, and see you in the next Breaking Heads podcast. I'm Fred, and out. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.